Right, I hope you enjoyed that demonstration of this Madara Uchiha build. And now, I'm going to explain the armor, the grace, the wizardry spells, and the divine beast which he used. So, I used the fists mainly for this build, only because I like to experiment with different weapons, and for the previous builds I used the dual swords and the long sword. But more importantly, I had the Grace of Zhurong for this build, and what that does is with the 5th bonus set, it will accumulate burn damage and fire damage on the enemies, and when you fuse that with the ice weapon, it'll cause more damage, because fire and ice together causes even more damage to the HP on the enemies. But it's a great stack, and it causes a lot of HP damage, and it's a great offensive grace. It's probably one of the best graces in the game, to be fair. Currently, I'd say. And what that does, with that, I have the negative effect duration, which will increase the burn accumulation on the enemy, as well as the ice effect on the enemy as well. Spell duration is just for my ice imbued fist, and melee attack damage just to increase the HP damage. Negative effect duration again, damage dealt, which applies to all wizardry, martial arts, and melee damage. The elements imbued weapon damage again, just to stack on top of that. Spirit attack, spirit damage, just to raise the spirit, negative spirit bar in order for me to stagger them while they're in a critical condition, and even cause more ice and fire damage with the Grace of Zhurong. Melee attack, spirit damage, again, just to stack on top of the previous one. Spirit gain from normal attacks, so I can use me martial arts and me wizardry spells more often. Burn accumulation on enemies to increase the effect, and the ice attack power to obviously increase ice damage. And the elements imbued weapon damage at the very bottom there, even though I wish it was highlighted. But anyway. HP restoration on melee attack damage, I just threw that in there just to try it out, and probably to stack with this spell. But anyway, I've got the elemental damage reduction to increase my defense a little bit against elemental bosses or enemies. Melee attack damage to stack on top of my other melee damage effects as well, and the ranged attack guard penetration each time that I use a ranged attack weapon. But hopefully in the DLC they might change that, where you might be able to edit the accessories this time. I mean, I hope they do anyway. Wizardry spells, absorb vitality, again, just increasing me HP. Restoration, even though it's not really much, because this build is more for defense, but I like to refer to it as like a beat-down build. Metallic execution, I'll use that just to increase the combo of my melee attack as well as my martial arts, and stagger the opponents, and use the likes of this, the Water God's Blink, which is like a flash step, and plus it kind of goes with Madara as well, because you see a lot of the ninjas in Naruto do the flash step move, and especially Madara, and he is quite quick, so I think this suits him really well. The ice weapon, obviously to stack with the Grace of Zhurong's effect, to increase the fire damage, alongside with the ice damage, and even more HP damage as well. Amplified damage depends on the enemy, it depends on the boss, and if my morale rank is quite high in comparison to theirs, and I'll use it to basically stagger the enemy, or when they're in a staggered state, I'll use it then. The enhanced defense I use to stop myself from getting flinched from the enemy's attacks, and I can use my martial arts and my wizardry spells more efficiently. Ominous Chill, I haven't really used this, but I tend to use it on the likes of big enemies, but as I showcased it in the videos, I didn't really use it, but hopefully for the next DLC, I might use it on some enemies, or maybe bosses, who knows. But the only snag is, it only stays in one location, it's like it doesn't really lock on the target, as it says it does. Overpowered Burst, I haven't really used it, due to my fire attribute being quite low, or my virtue points being quite low, but I can work around that. For my Divine Beast, I've got the Bixie, which increases the elemental imbued weapon damage, as well as my morale rank points gain, because why not? I'll need it to have the advantage over the enemy, especially with this build if it's high offensive which the Grace of Zhurong is. As for my stats, level 400, Wood Virtue 125, Fire Virtue 20, Earth Virtue 49. With Wood Virtue, I've got just to increase the duration of my wizardry spells, well, my imbued weapon damage and the other effects as well, including the amplified damage too. Metal Virtue, so I can use Metallic Execution and to reduce the cost of my wizardry spells, and Water Virtue, just to boost the damage of my ice weapon as well. I mean, I might do this build again in the future, but I'll fiddle around with the attributes, or the virtue points, as many people call them, and just experiment around this. And work on the build more often as well. But I might stack the Instigator of Evil alongside the Grace of Zhurong, just to increase the elemental damage. I think it really will be beneficial, and I like to experiment with this build more. So here's my final thoughts on this build. I think the Grace is fantastic. It's a great defensive build, does a lot of HP damage to enemies, but I wish I could have got the gems for the slots there, such as Ice Attack Penetration and more imbued weapon damage as well, and for the spell durations. But hopefully with the new DLC and the new 8th star rank weapons and armour, they'll include more slots for that, and then I definitely would use this build again, and even upgrade it as well, because I was really impressed with it. And to be fair, it's probably one of my favourite builds at the moment, besides the Grace of Newer. But I'll definitely use it again in the future. So, that's my conclusion, folks. This is Red-Oni. Peace out.